Welcome back to another episode of Inside of Our C-Suite. I'm Timothy Maurice, and we're going to go inside of the C-Suite of the Westcliff, Johannesburg, the Four Seasons property that's really special. We got one of the brightest minds in HR that we're going to be talking to today, Nokuthula Kamwendo.
Timothy, welcome to Four Seasons Johannesburg.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm awesome. I've heard so much about these incredible views. Look, can we do the interview where the views are magical?
Absolutely, and it's a beautiful day today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's do it. So long before you were in Johannesburg and in this amazing property, you were born in Zimbabwe?
I was born in Zimbabwe in a beautiful little town called Victoria Falls.
So there's actually a town called Victoria Falls.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. One of the 7 wonders of the world, the actual Victoria Falls waterfall. Absolutely stunning. I mean, I say to everybody, make sure it's on your bucket list to visit at some point in your life.
At what stage did you start to appreciate this? Were you a kid? At what point did you realize, I'm actually born in one of the 7 wonders of the world?
I was a kid, Tim. You know, growing up, being born and raised and growing up in this little town, it's beauty all around you. Okay. It was there.
Did you know it was special?
You know what? At first, you tend to take it for granted.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's there, it's around you all the time. But at some point, you realize that this is something that everybody else needs to have a piece of as well. And then you get ready to share. You really get it into your heart, and it's time to share it with everybody else wherever you go.
This is your office space.
This is my beautiful office
space. This is your
space.
incredible office space. So tell us, your work in HR and developing talent, take us through the nuts and bolts of what you want to do, what you do on a daily basis.
Timothy, I'm very much involved from a management perspective in helping the company strategizing when it comes to developments for our employees, for budgeting processes in terms of all of the talent that we bring into the hotel. My key focus at the moment is making sure that we can bring in talent that will be able to enjoy the space that we have and be able to work through with Four Seasons into its values of caring for employees.
And the type of people you look for?
Well, you know, Four Seasons prides itself in being the kind of employer that values its employees, that looks for people that have it in their heart to serve others. And that's the key thing. You know, you could have all the degrees and all the education in the world, but it has to come from in here. And that's the fundamental thing that we are always looking out for when scouting out talent.
So as a director, as someone who sort of helps plot this sort of journey of developing talent, how do you go about learning to spot talent? Is it natural? Have you had to develop that sort of instinct?
I think it goes both ways. You know, I come from a training background myself, and I've been doing training and development for about 15 years now, and it's very easy to be able to see when people have it or they don't. It's very easy to be able to see whether people have the human element or not as well. And it makes it a lot easier for me in my HR role to be able to pinpoint the right people for this environment.
Your background, again, you've worked across the continent. You have, I have to ask you, what's your favorite place on the continent? Between Zimbabwe, Nigeria, South Africa, I'm putting you on the spot. This is CNBC Africa. We love this continent.
My absolute favorite is the Serengeti in Tanzania.
Really?
It is absolutely mind-blowing. Oh, wow. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Is it something about the story, the aesthetic? What is it?
You know, there are a lot of different areas within the Serengeti that make it very special. But I think for me, and I was really mind blown when I went there the very first time, was the Great Wildebeest Migration. It is the biggest wildebeest migration.
Experienced this?
I have.
Would you advise young professional women to take on this industry as a career?
I really would, because the HR scope on its own is pretty daunting for a lot of people. But it depends on the industry that you're in. You know, in my industry, it is one of the most exciting industries to do human resources in. Yes, of course, no day is ever the same in human resources, but here I get the opportunity to do it in all different areas, you know, not only different countries, not only different types of people, but all different walks of and nationalities, all grouped together.
let me just ask you, this sounds fabulous and it's beautiful views and everything, but there must be a hard side. There must be a tough side. There must be a side, there must be times when you have wanted to give up. Take us back to when you started in this industry. What did you not know that was so challenging?
You know, I think the toughest is retention of staff. And when I started in this industry, away from Four Seasons, I think the different environments make people leave their jobs. When I joined Four Seasons, one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves in is the values that we have ourselves as Four Seasons that we want everybody else to be a part of. And being a global company, everybody gets the opportunity to go places. The world is your oyster. And that has changed my perception of that challenge, because although it is a challenge, it still exists even now when I work for Four Seasons, and it will always exist. It's getting that brand awareness out to people, especially here in South Africa, so that people know what Four Seasons is all about, and they can join us and feel the excitement that we feel. Especially young people coming into the industry, into the working world as a whole. It's the first time that they sometimes are really very exposed to such a big brand. And when they join Four Seasons, you know, it warms your heart.
Well, are you saying that you have a lot of turnover because the brand values are so intense that some people collapse and they struggle to live up to the brand values? You were saying that there's difficult parts around retention. So link that to some of the issues around keeping them in Four Seasons.
Within Four Seasons, like I said to you earlier, when I'm looking for talent, I'm looking for the human aspect.
Okay.
Some industries are really tough and they don't really care much about that human touch. Our Four Seasons travelers, all of our guests, that's what they're after. You know, a lot of people, when they are traveling within the hospitality industry, it's not to say that people don't have homes where they're coming from, right? But when they come through, they're coming home. And they expect to arrive, and there are people that are going to welcome them. Okay. And if a person is coming out of a different industry and coming into our industry, sometimes it does get a bit overwhelming, and that they bail out, right? But it just takes that extra touch from the rest of us that are in it to be able to filter that through and get that person to just calm down.
Got it.
Calm down.
Out of 100 people you interview, how many do you expect to be able to fit and align to this brand?
I would say out of 100 people, be fair, 50.
Oh, wow.
Give it
50 just won't fit. The other 50 you got to work with and help mold and so forth.
Well, I would say of the 50, 20 will fit.
Be perfect.
Will be perfect,
so you'll narrow down
like
to 50.
A glove.
I got it.
And the rest, you've got to mold them, you've got to work with them, you've got to show them what it's all about. And that is why when I'm looking for talent, yes, of course, there have to be certain skills. Every job, every role has got to have specific skills in order to get the job done. But because of that human element that we're looking for, sometimes you don't have to get somebody that's from the exact same industry. That human element can be found in any other industry. And that's why when we take them in, we welcome them into this industry, and they fall within that group of people that you just have to show how it's done. But they've got it. They don't need much more work.
Give us a couple of the top tips that you've learned in your journey from starting as a child in Zimbabwe to being this director here in this incredible sort of space. Some of the key lessons you've learned to become a leader, to become someone who can thrive in this beautiful space. I want young women out there to hear from you some things they can take away.
First and foremost is to listen.
Okay.
A lot of the times people hear, but they don't listen. And when you listen, you are able to connect with people because you can get to what they really and truly are and what they want you to be. That's one key element.
You've learned, like, in this journey, if you don't listen, you miss out on?
You miss out on a lot of key points because people are individuals.
Got it.
And the second thing is to really, if somebody ever shows an interest in you and says to you, Timothy, you've got talent, you know, and you could take it somewhere, don't shy away from that.
Oh, wow.
Take it. A lot of the times, you know, you could shy away from it and think, me? I don't think I could do that. Don't do that. If somebody even shows an inkling of interest in growing you, in developing you, hold on to it.
That's
because that is the key thing to your growth.
Wow.
And along the way, you have always got to remember, that's my third and most important value. You can only be better by listening and learning from others. You cannot do it by yourself. It is not possible. In HR, it's cutthroat, you know, it is really cutthroat. You have different types of people, you have different types of employees that have got different perceptions, and everybody has got things going on. You're a team.
Got it.
Within human resources, you're not there to do it by yourself. You have got a whole group of other people in the different divisions that help you to put it together. And so you've got to be a team player. You've got to learn to work with others, and very, very well. You listen, you work with others, you make sure that if somebody says to you, you can do it, you go.
I love it. In the end, when things get really, really tough, as a leader, you know, you've got two amazing kids. When things are really tough, what do you do to make sure that you don't give up and you keep pushing?
You know what? It's not really a tough question, but it's just that I have so many things that I do at different times in my life in order to get through things. But two very important things to me. One, exercise. You know, there are times when I've had like a really rough day and I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I'll literally say to my team, you know what? I need to go and run.
Wow.
I've got my kid in the office and I change and I go for a run. And as you can see, we have a very beautiful running spot and I run. The second thing that keeps me going, you know, I've got two boys, and I have always said to my sons, you don't give up. No matter what you do, no matter how tough it gets, you do not give up. You find help, you find alternative ways to work around whatever it is that's wanting to make you give up, and you keep going. So I listen to myself saying these things to them, and I'm like, Knox, you know what? You gotta keep going. There is no alternative here. Just find the balance, take a step back, breathe, and off you go.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for
It's
allowing
been
us
really great.
inside of your C-suite. Join us next week as we go inside of another C-suite of a fabulous woman who is shaping society and making a fundamental difference at a very senior level. I'm Timothy Maurice, and we'll be back next week.